We are back, Adventures in Adversity. So grateful to be saying that again, especially because today is World Mental Health Day, I believe, October 10th. And I don't know if I could think of a better guest to share his experiences with adversity in the form of mental health, all the things that come with being a human. So, welcome for those of you who are new here. Adventures in Adversity is a what I like to call an inspirational podcast with real people, true stories, and daily inspiration. And really, just really grateful to introduce you to my next guest, Mr. Adam Butler. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. And boy, do I have some adventures in adversity.
Well, there's this little thing called a book that you wrote. Just going to put that here. Just going to throw that out there. And I think this beautiful book, which by the way, thank you so much for sending it to me with a really beautiful note that gives me chills when I just feel like this is our first time talking face to face. We've been talking over email. We've been talking and supporting each other from afar. But I'm just grateful to have someone like you, uh, first of all, sending me your book, writing the book, and then so openly sharing your dark times and then how you've gotten through that. Just appreciate it because that's really what the podcast is all about.
Well, thank you. And I guess before we get into the nitty
Yeah.
gritty and the details, and I'm
Yeah.
comfortable to talk about any aspects of my life. At this point, the past is the dark is in the past, and I'm comfortable reiterating any of the details because I know ultimately it'll help. But if I could,
Yeah.
a couple disclaimers.
Sure.
The book I wrote is Butler's DMT Field Guide, and it is about psychedelics and DMT in particular. I do want to make sure that people know psychedelics are not for everybody. DMT is definitely not for everybody. I'm not giving medical advice, and psychedelics really are extremely powerful compounds. And if this is something that resonates with you, I recommend doing your own research. Reach out to medical professionals, to people in your community. You can reach out to me if I can connect you with some resources as well.
Amazing.
Just it's not something to take lightly, and it's one of many keys to unlock the human potential, and that's a big part of my story, is not pushing
Mm,
psychedelics, not pushing DMT. It's the inner work and the self-love and the self-knowledge that I gained from that, but I think there's other ways of doing that. um,
mm,
the other thing I'd like to say too is, as we kind of relive some of the past and some of the shittiest aspects of my life, um, I'm comfortable talking about it because it's not beat up Adam and woe is me and keep kicking me in the gut. I've come full circle. I've put it where it needs to be. I've integrated it into my life. I've used it for growth, and that's why I'm comfortable talking about it. But part of that story, unfortunately, is, and you talk about your interactions with narcissistic people and manipulative people and fucking just nasty, dark, in my case, alcoholic person. And I was that person that left a path of destruction. I was the person that
mm.
had multiple long-term relationships ruined because of my ugliness and my just nastiness. So there are going to be some points that um, maybe triggers to you, to your guest, and I welcome that conversation around it, because it's something that's the whole point of it, is let's talk about it. And that there's two aspects I want to put to that, is that if there's a husband or a boyfriend or a guy or a woman
Mhm.
that is that that asshole that I describe myself to be, know that there is a way to change that. It, like, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and take a hard look at yourself in the mirror, because life the other way is so much more enriching. And
I
if
love
you
it.
are the person on the receiving end of abuse, or somebody not knowing your value and your worth and making you feel like
Yeah.
shit, absolutely not acceptable. Set up your own boundaries and know what type of energy you let around you, and don't let anybody um, ever try to dim your light, which unfortunately I did to several beautiful women.
Well,
So
thank you for saying that. And no, and thank you for your self-awareness and for your just transparency and authenticity that I think we are all imperfect and gosh, don't I know that? Like the more inner work I do, I realize that there's light and dark in everybody and like the shadow work and like figuring out like those parts of you. And I just want to say it's easy to listen to podcasts. It's not always easy to be the one on there telling all the stories. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like, you can go through your phone and be like, "Ooh, who do I wanna listen to today?" And then judge, and then, "Ooh, don't like that one." It's like, when you step up to the mic and share who you are, it's not all good for everybody. I don't think, do you know what I mean? So
No,
I
but
just appreciate it.
and before we started recording, we mentioned this as we are both putting up our kind of airing our dirty laundry, so to speak.
Yeah.
There will be some people, and I just did a live podcast the other day that has like pushing 40,000 views, and there was a lot of great comments, but
And
there was some some really horrible, some really funny, but they were ripping me apart. And but then at the end of every email, excuse me, at the end of every podcast, I always give out my email and I offer a free PDF copy of my book. And the emails that poured in after that were just amazing. And it showed that the message that I was trying to convey to the people that may have needed it picked it up. And all that other noise and all the people that wanted to make fun of my looks or my talk or my story or the fact that I lost everything, that's fine. And I'm cool to be their sponge and cool, get a laugh off of me. But the truth is I'm going to keep telling the story because every time I share it, I get significant responses that, hey, something you said um, resonated in a way that will make me potentially change the trajectory of my life. And in my case, we can kind of get into it, but in
let's
summary,
go
I was
for
in a
it.
very, very dark,
Yeah.
depressed, anxious point where I was highly, highly suicidal. And it wasn't just like I had a bad day or a bad week or a bad year. I spent weeks and months, and I actually took a year off driving across the country contemplating life and really, do I want to spend another day on this planet? And I felt as though I had that decision and the right to make, and it wasn't anybody else's to make or to convince me otherwise. And I really needed to have a hell of a journey within to finally get that answer. And I got a resounding yes. And I'm sure we'll get to that part of the story. But um, yeah, I was really in a bad spot. But again, this
Mhm.
isn't woe is me. This isn't woe is Adam. I was raised with a silver
No.
spoon. I had every advantage growing up. I have amazing parents, great grandparents, college education. I was gifted 100 grand when I was 18 to start businesses. I had everything on paper. So this
Mhm.
isn't like, oh, fuck. And that's why I share my
No.
story too, because if I
Yeah.
could have lose it all and messed it all up with all of my advantages, what about the people that don't have nearly what I had? And man, how hard it must be. So, um,
Yes. So
yeah. So I
take me
guess,
through. So you grew up, I
yeah,
now I have a there's a Boston accent. So
Rhode
are you
Island.
Rhode Island?
So,
Okay.
yep,
All right.
an hour south.
Okay.
Um,
So
we're a little bit
you
weirder here in Rhode Island.
okay. So you grew up, are you born and raised in Rhode Island?
Yep. So
Okay.
lived here my
Take
whole
me
life. I'm
through.
45
Yeah.
years old.
Okay.
I went to URI, so University of Rhode Island.
Yep.
I went there for almost 7.5 years, and I was focusing on entomology. So
Wow.
I was the bug geek working on West Nile virus and Tripoli, and my plan and goal was, to work on insect-borne diseases. But
Wow.
as a mid 20-year-old, I had just a course correction, which ended up being one of many, many course corrections. But I mentioned my upbringing because um, basically from the age of, I don't know, 15 to 40, really, I had pretty much coasted through life, but it was just drowning myself in alcohol and really running from my problems. But I was a
Mm.
straight A student. I had high paying jobs. I had the beautiful women, the fancy cars, traveled the world. I had everything where I could kind of I could mask it really, really, really well until at 40 years old, over the course of about 2 years, 2.5 years, I had everything in my life multiple times just completely fall apart where I had to look at myself in the mirror and really ask myself the hard questions. And really, it started with a knock on the door from a constable giving me a restraining order. And this was with a 7+ year relationship, a beautiful woman, two beautiful daughters, which we had bought
Mm.
like a 3-story Victorian by the water. We put like 100 grand into it. Remade this house into a beautiful home, and I
Mhm.
was making 180 to 200 grand a year being a home inspector. It just everything was
It is
going
good.
relatively
Yeah.
smooth,
Uh-huh.
but I was, like I said, drinking every day, all day, and really masking my own insecurities. And unfortunately, I was just a horrible, mean, narcissistic, belligerent asshole to her and her kids ultimately. And I want to preface this, and not that it makes it any better, but
Yeah.
the restraining order basically stated verbal abuse and kind of like spatial abuse and mental abuse. I've never hit anybody. I've never raised my hand to anybody, guy or girl. So it wasn't
Mhm.
like I was being physically abusive, but
Yeah.
that doesn't excuse the fact that I was using my size, my fiery eyes, my energy, to intimidate her. And I knew that. So I don't
Mhm.
want to act like I wasn't physically using my presence. I was.
Sure. Sure.
Um, so that was just like I said, a knock on the door. It was, oh shit. So my 7 year relationship is over. The house I live in, this guy's telling me I need to leave and leave now and grab all of my stuff. And that was the first kind of cycle of kind of a something needs to give and something needs to change.
Yeah.
But that was right before COVID started. So
Okay.
that court case got pushed into kind of the non-essential category. So it dragged on for almost a year where there was this limbo where we never had our finality. I was never able to go back into my house and get my stuff. I had to keep paying for the mortgage and all the bills and utilities for a year on this property, not speaking to the woman I loved for 7 years. And all of a sudden, just like I said, a piece of paper said I couldn't have any contact with her anymore. Um, but that was, I was still drinking. I was still an asshole. Moved back in with my parents. Kind of had some reflections, and kind of going to sum up some things here. But
Yeah.
the home inspection job I had for 7 8 years, I quit because it was just causing me too much mental bullshit. But I moved to the Cape, and I got an
Mhm.
even better job selling marble and granite on Martha's Vineyard. So really, it was
Mm.
selling beautiful stone to rich people that were super nice,
Beautiful
making a
place.
shit ton of money. I got into another relationship with another woman with two kids, moved in, but I was again still drinking, still kind of, and that relationship fell apart because of ugliness and yelling and just basically looking for exterior solutions or blaming exterior things to my own internal issues.
Ah.
So that relationship ended. So two horrible ones. And then the new job in the Cape, I was so I was done with women. I was done with relationships, and I was going to focus on myself in business. I was in business with these two guys, and one of the gentlemen was a 30-year-old guy who,
Mhm.
and I'm not saying that that makes it an excuse,
No.
but he did some shit behind my back that equated to him taking $900 of my commissions without like doing something
You
shady. And
Yeah, you mentioned that in your
and
book.
at that point in my life,
Yeah.
900 bucks was nothing. It was insignificant, but it was just I was so raw and so just done with people not talking to me, not confronting me, and um I
The
confronted
straw.
him and I threatened to kill him, and I don't say that lightly. Just like I say, I don't walk into the woods, looking off myself lightly. And I really was planning on walking through him and just
You
expressing I don't know all of the anger and angst of years
Yeah.
into this guy. Luckily, the owner of the company and his son are both these massive men, and they were in the same room, and they were able to basically, prevent that from happening. And that was on a Sunday night. Monday morning, I woke up and I said, I'm driving to California to hug a redwood tree. And I had
Mm.
no other plan. I just got in my car with a backpack, and I basically spent over a year and a close to a year and a half where, I kept coming back to my parents' house as a kind of hub to check in. But uh, yeah, I did this very, very long spiritual journey on the road. I went to like 40 plus states, all the national parks, lived on beaches, lived in my car. And throughout
Mm.
that time, did quite a bit of psychedelics, primarily shrooms and DMT, and
Mhm.
did all of the proverbial inner work, shadow work, dancing with the
Yeah.
demons, the hard buckets and buckets of tears, and came through on the other side with the desire to share my story, to write that book, to
Yep.
again not sensationalize DMT or try to promote even its use, but to let people know that this is a not only a natural, organic, plant-based chemical that's in thousands and thousands of plants, but it's also in every mammal and it's naturally produced in our own body. So that the term being endogenous. And that
Mhm.
was similar to shrooms, where I was attracted to it because it was natural, and it wasn't something synthetic and made by a pharmacy.
Yep.
And so there are several aspects of DMT that
Yeah.
drew me to it, which then I did my research and I had, what I would say a life-saving, transformative experience on that particular compound. And that was 3.5 years ago. And since then, my entire life has been completely changed, a completely new perspective. I'm coming on 5 years being sober, so alcohol is completely out of my life. My relationships now are absolutely amazing, and I'm not
Mm.
in that rat race of just material wealth and chasing shit. I'm actually all about exploring myself in this world and being a part of it and connected. So
Yeah.
a lot of stuff to unpack there, but that was just
No.
this 2 years of horseshit and then a year and a half of inner exploration, and now it's me whistling and skipping and dancing on the other side.
Yeah. So it sounds like, not sounds like, we know that up until your encounter with DMT and psychedelics, there was something, there was pain there that just could not be like, you there was inner demons, there was struggle that I know every single person listening to this podcast has in one shape, form, or another, right? It's like, what I'm learning is, have you confronted them? Have you slayed them? Right? Talk to me about, first, if people are going, okay, this is really interesting, and I'm sure they're sensing your openness and authenticity. What is DMT? It's naturally occurring. If this is someone's very first time hearing about it, it's in your book,
Mhm.
which I'm going to link to in the show notes. It, how would you describe it to someone who's hearing about it for the first time?
DMT stands for dimethyltryptamine. So it's a again, it's a natural compound. It's it really came back into the, I guess, mainstream in the 90s from a study that Dr. Rick Strassman did. And through that study, he wrote the book The Spirit Molecule. So I would say
Mhm.
anybody interested in DMT in particular, I would start with Rick Strassman's work and I would start with that book. It gives a
Yeah.
really good outline of not only the chemical makeup, but the research that his study found.
Mhm.
But not only is it naturally found, and my understanding is ubiquitous throughout the plant kingdom, that it's really everywhere. It's just a matter of what concentrations are high enough to extract. And then again, that is produced naturally in our own body. And they haven't quite localized where. There's a lot of talk about the pineal gland and the cerebral spinal fluid potentially being produced in the lungs.
Mhm.
But it is in concentrations that are significant and enough to alter your mood. And there are ways where some people may not like the idea of taking a drug or doing
Sure.
smoking a pipe or vaping a pen with something like this. But with proper meditation, with breathing, holotropic breathing, you really can get your body into a deep vibratory state that does pulse DMT. Now, granted, not the
Mm.
breakthrough dose where you're going to be interacting with entities and talking to God necessarily, but
Generate.
you really
Mhm.
do. And for somebody that smoked it and felt it, that side of it, but then also does it in my meditative state, it's a very unique feeling. It's a taste in the back of your throat. You have a nasal cavity drip that you kind of get, and you do have a vibratory hum that is
Mhm.
clearly DMT pulsing in your body. So there is,
Mm.
and I'm not, that doesn't make it any less powerful, or hey, it's something because it's endogenous that it's not dangerous.
Yeah.
But that's where I think Rick Strassman's book would be a good
Really.
start.
Yeah.
Andrew Gallimore is another researcher that has several books out and has some good material. But in my book, what I wanted to do, and it's called the Field Guide, because I wanted to
Yep.
be short, easy, concise, and really just
Yes.
break down, hey, what is it? What's this? What's molecule? I have recipes in there. Again, not promoting anybody necessarily break any
Sure.
laws or stop making doing a chem lab, but it's such an easy extraction. It's really just boiling bark and pulling out the material. And it's accessible, it's inexpensive. And the fact that it changed and saved my life and that it's that easy and that it can get legally shipped in the US. There are several companies that do ship the base plant material. So it is
Okay.
something that is legally accessible.
Yeah.
And there
Yeah.
are ways of doing it. So, um, but then I go over my mental health journey, but then I do have chapters about transcendental sex, art, and science, where I was trying to say about how it can be used in a practical way in the
Mhm.
future, not just with mental health therapy, but what can this mean for the next
Sure.
step of human evolution? What does it mean if we can elevate our senses? What does it mean if we can vibrate at a higher level and interact in a different way and receive more information? What can that
Mm.
mean for our day to day lives? And not only my story, but there's a lot. I mean, thousands and thousands of people that the stories are very, very similar where and if I could, I guess an
Yeah.
analogy that seems to really stick with people is that I think what happens with me, and especially I'm 45, so at 40 years old, I had basically a lifetime of what I call plaque just building up, and just societal plaque, social media, smut, expectations, your own self limitations, actual traumas, actual events, just a lifetime of stuff that bogs you down. Where I think it's a twofold thing. Not only are you not able to shine your inner light and your inner creativity and express yourself creatively and show love and empathy and actually have meaningful conversations and connections with yourself and others, but that plaque also stops the receiving of the love and light from the
Mm.
divine source, universal source, God, whatever you may call it, or other people. And once that plaque is removed, and I think that's the point, that's the key, that's that can happen in multiple ways. But for me, psychedelics basically removed and blasted away that proverbial plaque, where then I could start shining my beautiful light again, receiving it from other people. And psychedelics, once the plaque was removed, that's when I could start looking myself in the mirror. And I say often, you cannot lie to yourself when you're on 5 grams of shrooms and you're looking in the mirror and you're crying your eyes out. And it's like, you can lie to your therapist, you can lie to your friends, you can lie to your spouse, you can lie to damn near anybody, but you can't lie to yourself when you're that deep in a psychedelic state and you're like, well, why am I 40 pounds overweight? Why did I lose 3 relationships? Why do I have no job? Why am I fucking homeless after owning all of these homes? Why why is everything in my life falling apart? Where before it was, well, that woman did this, that guy did that. I get to blame, 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 blame. And then finally it was just like with this huge, like, oh fuck, man, this is all on you. And yes, they were a part of that variable, and yes, they have to be accountable for some aspect of it. But as soon as I stopped looking to blame other people and I could actually shine the spotlight on all of my own wounds, and some rightly so, and some were there for me to survive. But the truth is that they were now holding me back and they ruined my life. And it was only up and until that I had those sessions with shrooms really was the inner kind of work.
Yeah.
And it was tough, and it took several months to really, and you said slay your demons. I want to, if I could,
Please.
I don't think slay. I think
Okay.
name, befriend, put them part of your psyche, let them be part of your life. Because I think if you, and everybody kind of has their series of voices in their head and the
Mm.
different aspects of their psyche. What I was doing was I was letting all of the chatter and all the ones, oh, kill him, scream at her, blame her, go get a drink. I was letting them control who I as Adam Butler was. And now it was able to, like the bratty kid, and you've got some young kids, like if you tell them to shut up and shut up, shut up, and not let them speak or not let them express themselves, it's just gonna
Mm.
it's gonna backfire on you. As you just
Mm.
say, all right, listen, here's your 5 minutes. You have my complete attention. Say what you need to say. I'll absorb what you need to say. I'll hear you. I love you, respect you. Thank you for giving me this insight. But then you have to go away because I need to go to work and I can't threaten to kill that guy. And now it's kind of like lining up those voices or those demons. And some of them are dark, some of them are nasty, and some of them, when they do speak, are still kind of scary. But
Sure.
I don't say that I dissolved my ego or that I slayed those demons. I say that I befriended them, I put them in the proper perspective. And I
Mm.
say that too because if God forbid something happens where I need those aspects of my psyche to come back, whether it be in an event where I need to defend my family, if I need to whatever,
Mm.
climb into a burning building, if you and I go to an event somewhere and somebody threatens us, you want those, that you
Mm.
want to see that fire in my eye again. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I don't want it. I don't. It's
Yeah,
not.
you
I
don't
didn't
slay.
extinguish it. It's just I lengthen the fuse where it's not going to snap in traffic or in the market or because some woman didn't give me sexual attention. Like, what the
Yes.
fuck, you know?
I'm so glad you said that because my whole journey has been like slay, like prove, slay, like and I was actually talking with my therapist about doing like parts work and like there's a reason that voice is there and like that I have learned a lot about what you're saying about like my darker side too, where I'm like, damn, I got some anger. Like, woo, like I can, but that's also maybe instead of slaying that, it's understanding it and knowing like when that's
Because
useful.
when you need to be mama bear and protect your family,
Oh,
like then
I
it's
gotta
yeah,
then it's
right,
like you a mama bear for sure.
right.
Maybe that's
Well,
why it's there,
and
right?
part of that is, I think, unfortunately, with a lot of society, is they drug it and mask it down with prescription pills and alcohol, so that there is no mama bear there. There is no fire spark. There's nothing. It's just dull and sweep it under the rug. Watch the news, pay the bills, clean take the kids to the sports
Just
events, and just rat race, rat race, rat race. And that's what for me, like I said, at 40 years old, and it's a very common story where people just snap. And as it, you talk about mental health day, and I listened to your episode where you talked about your experience with suicide, not only your own
Mm.
suicidal thoughts, but the woman that you referenced in college, and then your husband's uncle. And
Yeah, thank you
you
for
know,
listening.
it's
Appreciate it.
I was actually crying my eyes out this morning because
Oh, oh,
it's because for the people that actually have felt it and have walked that path and have lost somebody, or God forbid was that person that looked in the mirror, um, it's horrible. It's gut wrenching, and that's the whole point of this story, is that you don't have to let it get to that point. If you're alive and you're healthy and you're in a relationship and you're in love, like, tell that person you love them. Or if you need to set up boundaries, set up the boundaries. If something needs to be adjusted or changed, don't just think it'll go away or it'll be okay, because it won't, and then you'll end up doing which is snap. And I lost not only once or twice, but just all, like, everything in my life. And again, this isn't woe is me, but like my own narcissism, my own belligerent alcoholic assholeness, yes, affected their lives, but I lost the six-figure jobs. I lost the beautiful home by the ocean. I lost the stepkids that I loved like my own. Lost the stability of what happens on Christmas and Easter and all this shit. Like, I don't
yeah,
have any of that anymore. And yes, I'm really happy. And the story will end with I'm at the
sure.
best point in my life, and really things are
Yeah.
fantastic. But the truth is like I I gotta be careful how I word this. I don't want to say I suffered the worst, because that sounds like the narcissist being like, "Oh, look at me." Um,
Okay.
I have I have really, like, hardcore practical things to say. My life was drastically altered in a negative way because of my actions and my own whatever. And my part of my story is saying, to try to tell people, is don't lose it all like I did, because you don't have to. And there's really what once you start feeling good and you start having the goosebumps, and you naturally have prayers of gratitude, and you naturally say thanks to the sun, to the moon, to the wind, to the smell of grass. Every cup of coffee is amazing, every cup of ice cream is amazing.
Mm,
Like, you start living like that, as opposed to, let me sneak a shot, quick, or let me, my thing was, I would always eat fast food on the way home to cover my bear breath, because I would always drink a six pack on the way home. And I figured my girlfriend wouldn't kiss me if I had bad McDonald's breath. And maybe that would stop me from showing my bear breath. And it's like, that's the type of weird type of shit where alcohol isn't the issue, money isn't the issue. If you were treating it like I did, that's an issue. And those are
yeah,
the weird little mind games that I would just kind of act like it's okay. And now I kind of have, and I guess I always did, but I ignored them. Now I listen. I
sure.
act like there's a God, and my interpretation of God has changed really quite a bit. But
Yeah,
whatever that divine source, or infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it, there's that on one side. There's the spirit of my Pepe on the other side, which it was an influential man in my life, and just one of a stellar character. But now I have these kind of psychedelic entities, so to speak, or this. I know when I go into the psychedelic space that I'm gonna have to answer for everything that I do, not only what I do or say, but telepathically what I think, what I feel, and what my emotions are. And if I have any type of whatever shit thoughts,
it's
I have to account for them. Why did you think? And whatever, whether it be internal jealousy or insecurity or self-limiting beliefs, I need to check those. But if it's also wishing ill on somebody else, or lustfulness, or being like, just all of the shit where I listen. And you had also, and you'll like how I reference all your episodes. You had an episode on triggers, but
oh my gosh,
these
I know, I
triggers
mean, thank you, thank you. You're
are
making my
there.
week. I'm like, "People listen, oh
They do.
my
Well,
god."
because it's another kind of analogy that I use often, that it's like the indicator lights on your car, where if you have an indicator light that says check oil, or your gas tank's low, or your tire's low, there are so many people that just take masking tape and block over those indicator lights. And we do that so many times in our life, where you just keep doing that, and you don't realize those stresses are there to course correct. Those indicator lights are there to say,
Mm,
give myself attention, give those voices attention, give my body attention. I need more water, I need more sleep, I need love, I need attention, I need to be listened to. And now, not only are all of those band-aids or tapes ripped off of those indicator lights that I used to cover, but now I have this whole massive board of thousands of indicator lights and triggers, where it's so easy to stay aligned to my own course and path. And especially even when I'm talking to my current girlfriend now, who I've been with
Mhm.
for over 3 years, where instead of leaning in to push her over the edge, to piss her off, to drive home my point, to be like, look at your, I need you to agree to my masculine Adam Butler point. It's, I take back, what is she bringing to the table? What feminine energy is she bringing? And let me hug her, give her the space, and say, it's safe for you to express yourself. And then we hold hands and have a great night instead of drink 3 beers and get
Mm.
pissed. It's just
Mhm.
it feels so good when you're aligned like that instead of the other way.
Oh, so many things. Like, I'm just taking in everything you're saying because I think just the amount of curiosity now I have about DMT, like, is beyond because it from your book, from meeting you, you've experienced suffering of things happening, suffering of your own creation. I think we all create some, but then things happen. Like you had said, it's a mix of trauma and things and your thoughts, and you're absorbing all of this. The plaque builds up. Um, Take me through, and I know again in your book you can get the details of this, but give me, if someone's like leaning in and going, okay, what is this DMT? He said he has access to these entities, which another friend of mine had already told me about, that like, take me through your first DMT experience, whatever you'd like to share that might explain if someone's like, what is he talking about? And where can I know more?
Sure. Uh,
Yeah.
to begin with my story with DMT, I have to start several months prior in my exploration of shrooms because that really led the
Let's hear it.
foundational groundwork. And for a few reasons, I think it really allowed that epiphany to happen with DMT. So again, I was around 40 years old. I knew that my life, clearly things weren't going well. And I was sitting at a point where something needed to give and change. So I realized that yes, I did need to give up alcohol. So like I said, I'm coming on 5 years now. So that was something that kind of, while things were still
Yeah.
falling apart, I realized that very quickly I needed to get that out of my life. So that was a big part of it. I've never been on any prescription pills, and I'm really not interested in hard drugs. So
Okay.
that's where I started. So I guess my point was I wasn't going to do what my sister did or my mom or dad did, which was just take a handful of pills for this and that, and one to wake you up, one to put you to sleep, one to dull you, and and
Yeah.
this is again isn't a judgment thing. My
No.
sister explicitly told me, um, I don't want to have peaks and valleys. I don't want to. She's like, I haven't cried in like 7 years. Like I cry 7 times a day.
Oh,
She's like, I don't remember any of my dreams. I remember every one of my dreams. She very rarely gets upset, but she
some
also
people
very
just want to.
rarely has the goosebumps and heart, like we laugh and crying, and or the deep meditation where you're going into the woods for 2 or 3 or 4 hours and you're connecting with yourself in a way like that wouldn't even be possible because her body is
Yeah.
dulled down and her
That's
antenna
totally.
is shut off. But she and super successful woman, highly intelligent, college educated, great job, great mom. I can't speak high enough about my sister. She
Sure.
makes that conscious decision that I don't want to experience what you've experienced, Adam. I don't want to snap at my boss, lose 3 relationships, like all. And I understand her point. So again, this was my
Yeah.
path.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but I realized I needed help, and I
Okay.
was that's when there was a and it still is. There's a lot of information about the therapeutic value of shrooms, of ketamine, of MDMA, of DMT. You hear a lot about people going on ayahuasca retreats.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so I was interested in that because that it was natural, it was organic. So I started listening to podcasts. I started reading as many books as I could about psychedelics, and I felt comfortable that I would explore shrooms. I had done shrooms maybe 6 or 7 times in college around
Okay.
that area, so I was comfortable with what the feeling, but I had a
Yeah.
20-year break from them. So
Okay.
I started, and the good thing about shrooms is you can start with microdosing and lead your way up. So I started with, 1 or 2 grams and just getting comfortable pushing it a little bit. And then it
Okay.
was 3 grams, 4 grams. And then I pushed it 7, 8 grams was kind of the max, which is a pretty significant dose. But over that maybe 3 months
Okay.
or so that I was exploring shrooms was when I was able to do all of that inner shadow work. So that's when I had that one-on-one in the mirror that I mentioned, where I was just like, "Whew, all right, you need to take this on." I had really some, and I don't like, I've never used the term bad trip. I don't think I've ever had a bad trip. I've had extremely difficult, heartbreaking, tearful, holy shit, revealing trips, but they were
Yeah.
necessary. They found the scars and open wounds in my psyche. They comfortably addressed my traumas. They gave my own voices, all of my voices, because you'd be sitting there for 7, 8 hours on a shroom trip in the middle of the night in the dark. You have all the time to process it. And I did that for months on end. So I became comfortable in my own skin, and I became comfortable with looking at how I was accountable. But that being said, all that really did was shine a spotlight on all my shit. And now I was this 40-year-old guy sitting there with just in this pile of shit in this hole I
You're like,
dug.
"Oh, man."
No epiphany,
Yeah.
no, like, yeah. I was like, well, now what do I do? Now I'm just a
Ah.
sober asshole that has nothing going on. So, but and I can laugh now at it. I really was in a really dark place. And one
Yeah,
of my
yeah,
best
yeah, yeah.
friends, and he's the one that I mentioned, Shaman Sean, in the book, and he wrote a
Yeah.
really nice paragraph at the end. Uh, he knew what a spot I was in, and he knew pretty much that I was talking about potentially not staying on this planet anymore. And he had access to DMT, and he offered it to me. And he said, Adam, I want you to look into this. That this may be something that could help you. So I then, after knowing that I had access to it, I then did research for, I don't know, a month, maybe month and a half, where I read the Strassman book. I did the research.
Yeah.
I watched the podcast, and I was hearing some pretty extraordinary stories about how this really could have that life changing epiphany. It could blast the plaque off, I guess, that I needed, or
Yeah.
that I thought I needed. So I decided that, all right, let's plan it. We set aside a day. We had the perfect location, the perfect intention, and I write in my book, and I would say this, as far as if anybody is interested in it, I wouldn't recommend going the route that I did that first day. I mentioned how I took about 50 hits that first day in about an hour and a half span. Typically, you need 3 or 4 hits, 5 hits, and you're good. And that's probably enough for like a year. um,
Ye
but
Yeah.
I needed the foundation, like I needed everything in my life to be shaken up. I was at a point where if I didn't get answers, I
It
was
was
done.
you were
So
yeah, this was it
it
for
was,
you.
yeah, it was either fry my brain or I'm gonna figure something out. So if I could, there was a progression that happened through there that I think there were a couple stops along the way are important.
Yeah.
That first hit. So again, it's natural, it's organic, it's naturally produced in our own body. So with shrooms, it's a clear sensation, like like the poison is starting to pulse through your system. Once it starts going through, you're kind of like, oh fuck. Like you sit there and you
Yes.
feel things starting to move and shift, and you feel that you really are getting poisoned, but that, like, the whale you see swimming on the wall isn't really there. It's just that your eyes are kind of looking at some weird stuff,
Yes.
but it's a weird feeling to get used to with shrooms.
Yeah.
DMT was not like that. It was not a poison feeling. It was not a scary drug overdose feeling, or it really was very natural, very innate. It instantly felt like the veil was removed and that my senses were being enhanced, and all of that shit was gone. And one thing that I thought was very odd was that it was very familiar to when I was a young kid. I got instantly
Mm.
brought back to when I was a young kid at a house I had, at a neighbor's house actually, and same smell, same taste, nasal cavity sensation, a dripping, and it was just really like, oh, I've felt this before. This chemical has flushed through my system before. It knows how to metabolize it. You don't need to be scared. As much as you're sitting there like,
Mm.
oh shit, sights and sounds
Yeah.
and everything's spinning, and
Sure.
it was chaotic, but it was comfortable. It wasn't scary. It was, this is how your human body is without the governor on, without the filters on. This is you with not only your
Mm.
human five senses dialed way up, but this is you with multiple other senses that now you have access to. But no epiphany, no entities, no downloads, no voices. It was just sights and sounds and really cool shit. And wow, this is my body interacting with this chemical in a unique way.
Yeah.
Um, so and a really important aspect of DMT, which is probably critical. With most psychedelics, it lasts hours and hours. So shrooms, depending on the dose, 4, 5, 6, 8 hours.
Yeah.
LSD, 10 plus hours. Ayahuasca, depending on dose, again, could be a day or more.
Yeah.
Uh, DMT lasts 7, 8 minutes. So you have this amazing blast off. You go into the deepest of psychedelic spaces and have access to all of this information and vibratory access. But then you come back to full lucidity. You're completely normal. So in my case, that first blast, you come back, you can integrate it, kind of say like, oh shit, what was that? Uh, Put it into context, but I didn't get any answers. I didn't get, so I was able to push it again,
Okay.
see a little bit more sights and sounds, no epiphany, no answers. Push it again
Okay.
a little bit further. And, I go over some of the details in
Yep.
my book, but about an hour and a half into it, we're at that last session. And I was, my body could obviously handle the chemical. It felt really good. My body was vibrating and I felt as though I was using this chemical properly. But again, I was no answers. I was still this depressed mess with all of these, demons exposed, so to speak. And that last session, I really pleaded to the universe and I begged. I said, I need help. I don't know what help. I don't know what it is, but if I don't get something, again, if you want me on this planet, then I need something. And I don't even know who the hell I was asking that to. It was just a crying plea like, fuck, I need an answer. I need help. And that last session was completely different. Everything was opposite of the last 7 sessions that I had. So there was no sights and sounds. There was no vibratory hum. I didn't feel like I was, shooting through a portal. I didn't feel like I was descending into an abyss. I was just there in this comfortable space with nothing going on, and I got this very calming conveyance of information in a message. And it wasn't, an English speaking voice. It wasn't
Yeah.
pictures. It was just instantly a knowing that, and the best way for me to describe it in my subjective case was I had all these subjective dots that I was trying to connect in my life. So I had this amazing past with all of this advantages, but all of this shit that blew up. And I'm now, what
Mm.
am I going to do in the future? I have no place to live. I just threatened to kill a guy. I have all of this shit going on. And then where I'm at right now, like, what do I do? And long story short, I was driving myself crazy and I was driving myself anxious and depressed and ultimately suicidal because I could never just focus on what I needed to focus on. And my mind was scattered in the past and the future. And whatever that entity was, or whatever that conveyance of information was it connected all of those dots in my head. And it was like, all right, Adam, you have all of these things. Look at this is how they're all connected. And then that instantly blew up into a million dots. And I was like, look, now we'll connect all these. And that blew up into a billion dots. And it was like, now we'll connect all these. And the message was kind of in a joking way, like, you stupid human, the point isn't to connect all the dots in your life. It's to appreciate the space between the dots. It's to appreciate the beat between the sound. It's not to make sense of it all. It's just to be here right now, and not right here now this minute, but like right here now this millisecond. And I'm actually writing a chapter in my next book. I was writing it yesterday, and I talk about be here now is just way more than a Ram Dass title of his book, or it was a George Harrison song back in the '70s as well. And it's not just a corny reference of be here now. It really was this, and that was the epiphany moment. Was fuck, like all you have is right now. And so you've got this spotlight that the shroom spotlighted all of the shit, what you need to do, an actual like good diagnostic analytical check of everything in your life, including your strengths and weaknesses.
Yep.
And now the DMT was, and all you right now you have this second. So what can you do this second? And I've lived every second of 3.5 years now with that mentality of truly living here right now, where every moment is beautiful and wonderful and divine and is my second chance at life. And it's awesome. Now that wasn't just fix it all. I still, then there was still quite a bit of the journey and still a bit of the
Sure.
struggle, but that was, so it was the mirror work from the
Hmm.
shrooms, and then it was
Hmm.
the the recognition that you can wallow all of your time in the past or be anxious about the future, or you can act right now. So that means whatever that means. Go for a hike, go to the gym, eat a healthy meal, say you're sorry when you need to, sleep when you need to, take a nap when you need to, whatever it is.
Hmm.
Be here now in that present moment. And it reduced all of the stress and anxiety, where then I could start taking a shovel of shit out every day. And I've been shoveling shit out of my hole that I made now for years, and it's really now starting to be like I'm peeking over the horizon, and things are happening now in my life and just falling into my lap again that are aligned with everything I'm passionate about. Where, I still have a lot of amends to make, and all those people that I harmed, if I ever cross paths with them again, I'll ask for their sincere apology. And if they give it to me, great. If not, I give them that space to not give it to me either, because I really was that much
Yeah.
of a jerk. But I'm cool now. I can move on. I can live my life where, and this is something, if I could say,
Yeah.
not to keep summing up stuff with cliches, but
No.
it's something that I've said a few times recently, and it's so simple and it makes sense. I think for a lot of people, and for all different reasons, whether they want to lose weight or gain weight, they want to get a girlfriend or a boyfriend or lose a boyfriend or girlfriend, they want a position here, they want something in life where they're always chasing or they're always trying to get something. Not only they're not here right now, but they're not here right now comfortable in their own skin. And what I've really realized is I am so comfortable being me with all of my scars and warts and all of my bullshit. I'm so comfortable in my own skin to express myself creatively or energetically or in any way. And because of that, my soul is comfortable. I'm not seeking to be me
Mm,
with more money. I'm not seeking to be me
mm,
with another book. I'm not seeking to be me without all of that shit. But I also don't want to be ascend to the 5D or find my own planet or become an eagle or a whale or a freaking tiger. Like I'm really happy with my soul right now as Adam Butler at 45 years old. It's exactly where it needs to be. And because of that calmness, I went from the stressed out, overweight, alcoholic, belligerent jerk who was so pent up and anxious, who wanted to literally jump out of my skin, kill myself, and take out people with me, to so comfortable being who I am. And all I want to do now is love and embrace and share light. And I'm comfortable with that sounding corny as all hell, but it's true. And I'm that guy that walks into the room now and talks about love and light and hugs and gives people the hopefully the space to share. And where before I was a guy that just made everybody feel like they had to walk on eggshells. And yeah, so because if you can get to the point where you're comfortable who you are with all the shit you're in, that's bliss. That's heaven on earth. Like that
that is,
is whatever, that's your definition of that's success. That's when you can not necessarily like end therapy or end, but it's like cool. Like that's I'm comfortable me and I'm comfortable what's going to happen tomorrow, good or bad, because it's part of what has to
mm,
happen. And you don't try to
mm,
change it or alter it. And you just kind of succumb to the universe's plan instead of yours.
yeah. Well, if that's not an endorsement for at least considering the thought of learning more about DMT, I don't know what is, because you hear more and more people too getting away from alcohol and being like, like at all, from what I'm hearing, like in all the generations being like, this is just really destructive and, hard. But for me, when the thing that keeps coming to mind is that, like, it sounds like DMT and your experiences in the last 3.5 years, DMT is a gateway for you to become comfortable in your own skin, which, like, if you're not comfortable in your own skin, you can't. Oh, he
Shit,
agrees. Hold on.
very comfortable in his own skin.
Yes, he's comfortable. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Yes. All right. That's
It's
Boca.
so comfortable. He's gonna go pee. That's why he's like, yeah, I'm
Yeah, he's
comfortable
like, um,
listening to his triggers.
I know, right? Seriously. Like, you can't even be in the moment if someone out there is like listening and they're like, you're always going for something, you're not actually comfortable being in your own skin, it's really hard to enjoy the moment, right?
And a practical kind of routine that I got into just this maybe a couple years ago, but it's really helpful to make sure you do stay in that moment. Is every night I go to bed and I have my kind of set routine of prayers of gratitude and thanks, and I
Mm,
really do set the mood for when I go to sleep. So when I wake up, I'm already kind of in this really prepped and primed, ready to go mood and attitude and
yeah.
physiologically like ready. But every morning I start with another kind of set of prayers of gratitude. And I typically, well, not typically, I always say my thanks to the sun just for being there. And then I kind of have a couple of other personal entities that I say my thanks to. But then I
Yeah.
say Earth Adam 45. So I'm 45 years old, and so I was for Earth Adam 44 up until July 22nd. But now it's Earth Adam 45, and then I say something about that day that's unique and special. So it's Earth Adam 45, you whatever, you
Mhm.
divine beautiful soul, or you whatever, you name so like I just came back from the granite burn up in New Hampshire, which was this awesome experience. So it's like whatever, you dancing granite burn and whatever,
You
and
just
it's
give
just it's
yourself
fun, it's
some,
my own, yeah,
yeah,
but
your
it
own thing.
recognized. But
Yeah.
then when it's Earth Atom 46, it's just so for 365 days a year I'm giving thanks to who I am right now as a 45-year-old, not only male but Adam Butler at 45 years old today is what I'm giving thanks for being here. And that's something that will keep me grounded because I know when I'm 46, I'll have another 365 days of being thankful for just that earth at I'm 46 if I'm blessed enough to be there. And it's a
Mm,
really humbling and grounding thing because it forces you to really give stock of where you're at that day. And maybe a simple, just
yeah.
kind of a simple thing where you're not praying to any god or anything or going through any ritual or routine.
Mhm.
It's really just a recognition of who you are as a soul in your body. You've got all your digits. You like we just had a close family friend 2 days ago have a brain aneurysm.
Oh,
Probably not
sorry.
going to make it. Like messed himself up bad, and he's like I don't even think he's 70 years old, and not that it's like way too young to be having that shit happen. But you never know when that's going to happen, or God forbid, something worse. So if you can wake up and say your name and your age, no matter
Yeah.
where you're at, be happy, and then don't try to be the younger version or the older version, or man, as soon as I get
Ah,
my PhD, I'll be great, or as soon
that
as I get
version,
my
the
license, I'll
success
be great, or yeah, as soon as I retire, then I'll be good. It's like no,
then.
you're perfect right now, and because just appreciate that, and it's
And
because then that reduces the stress, and that it feels good, and it's just a self-perpetuating easy routine of like, oh, this is what it feels like to not be anxious and angry and all pent up. Like this is, excuse me, what it means to have the patience to have a conversation about topics that you disagree with and not get angry because
yeah.
you're not already tense and on the defensive. Like all of those things just make it so you want to do more of it, where you know, before. And I do, if I could, when I want
Yeah,
to make sure, because I don't want
please.
to come off as preachy about like
No.
alcohol. Alcohol is definitely not the problem or isn't a problem in itself. I know a lot of people that they go fishing on the weekends and have a couple beers, or women that at the end of the work week, crack a bottle of Prosecco and have a couple
Yeah.
mimosas. Or that is absolutely fine. And I think
Yeah.
it's a way to enhance your life. And honestly, it can add socially and benefit your life. I was the guy though that was putting heavy bourbon in my coffee every morning, drinking 8% double IPAs throughout the day, and then ending it with a couple extra shots to make sex more interesting, I thought, which was just gross because I was just a gross drunk slob breathing on her. Um, but that was my routine. And these are the little triggers too, where it's like on vacation. So I'd be the designated driver. Well, you would think, right? And it's like, no, so I've already snuck 3 coffees with bourbon, things packed. But you know what? Oh, I forgot one more thing. And I didn't forget that thing, but I would run in and just grab a bottle of fucking vodka and chug an extra, a big mouthful for one extra bump
Like,
because now I knew I was going to be with the family and I couldn't do that. And it's like if you're doing
if
that,
you're doing that,
that's not healthy.
that's the
Or if you're
indicator
doing
that
that with pills, if you're doing that with whatever, and it could be porn, it could be, I mean, it
whatever
could be a
that
whole bunch
thing,
of shit, whatever
the
that
idle
thing
thing,
is.
right? Yeah, you're putting
Yeah.
it's the
If
thing,
if you need to hide it, and that's where that having for me God
hiding.
Pepe and the psychedelic kind of things there, it's like if you should be able to act like a camera's on you at all points. And if you're doing something where you'd be ashamed of having your wife or your kids or your husband look at you or your boss, then don't fucking do it. Like it's that simple. And that's where people don't have the, and you said it the other day, so I said
The
they don't have the
balls.
balls to actually to be like, oh, like
Just be it
I got
then.
to be accountable and I've got to not do that because something is in me saying vibrationally this is off and I shouldn't do it and I need to hide it and I'm ashamed of it. And if you're ashamed of it, or if it's a difficult conversation or a difficult topic, to me that means that's the trigger. That's exactly what needs to have the spotlight on it. And
Yes.
let's have that conversation about why you have that desire to have 6 drinks before noon before you get into a for a road trip.
Yeah.
Like
But
that's
it's
not good.
totally, but it's in DMT and like it sounds like shrooms when you were having that moment in the mirror. And I've had that moment. I've done like mirror work where you're just looking at yourself and you're like, oh my God. Like when you just look at yourself and that's a powerful experience. And then I have done shrooms. I did shrooms probably like 15 years ago. And I remember things like, but I remember just even starting to be like, okay, yeah, there's more to like what I think. Yeah. And then I have not done DMT. Very, very interested because this podcast too is making me realize in therapy and just through all my wrong turns and experiences, like you have to look at it. You have to look at what's going on, you know? And if you don't, it's gonna like when you start to look at it, you start to have all these realizations about what you really need to do, or like you had said, like the role that you played in it, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it
And
is.
then once you remove that proverbial plaque, once you get aligned with whatever, and that's the beauty too, is that like what I'm trying to share is this is going to be subjective and unique for every individual, and we're all going to kind of have our own sparkly iridescent facet of our own shine. And so it's not, hey, we all got
Yeah.
to have the same religion, we all got to think the same way politically, we all got to think the same way about gender, we all got to think the same way about this whatever. It's like, no, we can all, there's a space for all of us. It's just a matter of being comfortable, like I mentioned. And a beautiful part of that, and it is comfortable in your own skin, and it is confidence, and maybe even a sense of cockiness too that's there, that I am very comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
But because of that, because I'm not worried about somebody else swaying me or overpowering me or belittling me or their opinion affecting me, it makes it very easy for me to give them that space for them to express themselves
Yep.
authentically and truthfully. And it's like, well, no, if I have that for me, I want that for you. And it
Mm.
becomes way different from with all the women that I was with. It was, how do you not think like me? How could you do something differently? Why would you put the milk there when you should put it there? Why would you leave your shoes there when you could do it there? How the hell do you have
Ah.
laundry on the floor for a fucking week? It's like, no, but those are the things now
You have
where
space for.
I have if
Mhm.
I, and again, a corny example, but with like the shoes thing. Now, if I see my girlfriend's shoes by the door, I think about how cute her feet are. I think about how sexy her socks are. I think about I can't wait to rub her feet. And it turns into this whole thing about how
You
lucky I am to have this
reframe.
beautiful woman in my life, that her shoes are actually by my door, and how blessed I am. And it's a whole different perspective. And
Wow.
that can apply to everything, even if it's you're starving and somebody only gives you a cracker. It's like, it's not, oh, what the fuck, I don't have a 7 course meal. It's like, wow, I can really appreciate this cracker. And maybe it's just, really
No, no,
corny examples, but
no, I am that
it's a
person now too. Like,
it and that applies to everybody, where even now I talked about my success career wise, where I could easily make $1,000 a day or more in multiple of my other careers, where now I'm basically weed whacking as a landscaper, and I have an amazing job with one of my best friends, but I get paid $24 an hour, and I'm not making anywhere the type of money that I used to make. But I'm happy. Like, it's just every day, all day, I'm happy.
mm,
And that's everything. I can express myself. I have the time and space to do what I want to, and I don't know where I was going with that. It's something to do with
cool.
just giving people the space for them to kind of be themselves, and it makes it easy too, because that takes away road rage. That takes away,
Oh,
again, being pissed off in the market. That gets pissed off. And here's another kind of. There are a lot of people, my father included, who every day, all day, it's get pissed. You start yelling at the newspaper when they read it, then it's yell at the news, and then when they get in the car, it's literally not road rage once or twice. It's yelling at everybody along the way. Everybody in every store is the asshole. Then you get home and you watch the news, everybody's an asshole there. You get pissed at cooking dinner, you get pissed at the dishes in the dinner, you get pissed at making the bed, you get, like, literally every day, all day. Everybody you interact with is an asshole, and everything pisses you off. If that's
yep.
you, you're the asshole, not everybody else. And like, life can be fucking amazing, and you don't need to walk around like that all pissed off. And if you're sitting there yelling at the TV screen, read a book, go for a walk in the woods, go pet a puppy. Like, find somebody with a little kid in your life. Like, I watched one of your videos when your young
My
daughter
daughter.
came in. Take a walk for her and ask her to go get bugs, like, for an hour. I guarantee you're gonna have an amazing experience, instead of
Oh,
watching whatever the left or
dumbness.
right did. It's like, you'll drive yourself nuts. But you spend an hour a day with your daughter catching bugs for a week, a month, and then 6 months, and you realize, wow, I'm calm after dinner, instead of I want to go fight my coworker. Like, it's just
Yes.
uh,
It's transformative. When it's funny you say that, like bringing up like when little things come up. I've been trying to do that where I'm trying to be less reactive because I am like a hothead. I can be very hot-headed, but that's okay. Like it serves its purpose in the right, time. But even with just little things, like little minor inconveniences where you're like, and it's like, is it really that big of a deal? Do you know what I mean? And it's like reframing when you were talking about your girlfriend's shoes. It's like looking at a mess in the kid's room and being like, wow, I'm so lucky that I
Blessed.
have a mess to look at. Or I've interviewed two people on the podcast who have vision loss. I'm like, wow, I can see this mess. Wow, I can hear my kids arguing. Wow. I mean, it's all reframing, and it sounds like, although you might have tried to do that before you had this experience with shrooms and DMT, something about DMT for you unlocked this ability to feel comfortable in your skin, look at yourself with compassion, but then also like you're a fundamentally different person now, seems like, from what you've said.
Completely. And for me, that analogy about the plaque, I think really applies.
Yeah.
For me, though, I psychedelics was the chemical and mechanical uh, product that blasted that plaque away from me. And up and until then, there was nothing that I could express from the inside or receive from the outside because I just had this crusted shell on me that was just not allowing me to do
Oh.
anything. But I again, I
Mm.
want to stress, psychedelic is not the only mechanical or chemical remover. I just went
Mm.
last. It's coming up on a year now. I went to the Monroe Institute. It's this
Uh-huh.
place in Virginia where they have a bunch of different meditation programs. But I was there with a group of 25 people, and it ranged from relatively young to relatively old. And at the end of that week, there was such a transformational shift in all of these people where they had such connection to themselves. They really did all of this inner work. And it's because basically for 6 days we had 8 to 10 hours of deep meditation per day. All our phones and computers were off. We were called to dinner with a ringing of a bell. We had
Wow.
this beautiful grounds to walk around, and it was just a disconnection from everything else but yourself. And that inner work unlocked the same type of stuff that I would unlock.
Mm.
And I think for some people
Yeah.
it could be yoga, for some people it could be religious or spiritual, for some
Sure.
people it could be cold plunges. It's a whole host of things where I'm actually the next thing I want to do is do a darkness retreat,
Oh,
where
I've heard about those. Yeah.
really excited because I think that's going to be challenging. Like most people can't think about sitting in a room with yourself in the
Oh,
dark for an hour, let alone for 3 or 4 or 5 days or a
10 minutes,
week.
right?
Right. So this is days and
God.
days. But what? How much better of an understanding of you as an individual would you be if you did that? And the answer is, I think, quite a bit of a better understanding. So because of that,
Yeah.
that's what I want to do now. And
Yeah.
I think because that will be more plaque removal or more Teflon coating, so to speak, to make sure the plaque doesn't add on. And that's part of the story too, is I think once you see just how beautiful and divine and your potential and what it can be, there's very little chance of going back. Like I have no fear of me going back to drinking and being alcoholic because I don't ever want to be hungover. I don't want to feel like shit. I don't want to worry about puking and shit in my pants all day. I don't want to be overweight. I don't want to bear gut. I mean, there's a million reasons why that it's just
Yeah.
not even something I would do. Just like I'll never ever raise my voice to a woman or a guy, point my
Yeah.
finger in their face and scream the F word and with spit and drool coming out of my face and my eyes blazing. Like if I'm that upset or if I'm that have that much loss of control over me and my body, man, I need to go for a walk. I need to have a glass of
Yeah.
water. I need to decompress. I need to I needed to have stopped that 10 clicks ago where I just know I'll never get to that point. Like I said, unless I come home and someone's, tying
It,
up my mother or something, then
right.
it's all right,
It's
then the rage can come through. But on a day to day, because somebody did you wrong or somebody perceivedly did you wrong,
yeah.
that's just because you'll get pissed off all day. You'll be that person literally tense and anxious all day, complaining about other people instead of realizing, wow, I have the capability to go and just listen to crickets by a lake and whatever, like
Yeah.
smell trees. And it sounds gay, but like I should say like,
No, it's
but I
no, it's
apologize. No, it's
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 fine.
it's
Look,
like, but imagine seeing me in the wood, like smelling a leaf, being like, "Oh God, that guy must be on shrooms." And it's like, no, I'm just happy to be alive because this is where I'm at right now.
no, and I literally I understand those moments, and I think the once you get on this path of inner exploration, and then whatever way you go deeper, and DMT is something I'm very interested, so we're gonna have to talk about this even more. There's no turning back, probably because of how good you start to feel. Like I self-love, I'm not even fully there yet. In the last 2 years, I'm like, whoa, I'm not going back to like the hating, like, and I'm not even fully like integrated with all the stuff yet. But this feels so, I literally, as you start to love yourself or accept or view yourself, befriend those demons, you you change where like your reality and the way you perceive it's like not the same.
Yeah, you don't put tape on those
It
indicator lights.
no, you like
But and
hug
to the
them.
most refined. So and you and I respect how you actually withheld some of the details about your story about your narcissistic interactions. Um,
Mm. Yeah, I
fuck,
mean, I
where was I
want
gonna
to
go with that?
tell all of the things, but just kidding. It's okay.
Oh, fuck. Oh, I was gonna say. So the point was, so you've experienced something big like that, right? So now I think you're gonna have your radar. So if you ever get a new job or a new position, or like
Oh,
if
I'm
anybody
like,
even expresses any of that, you're like
oh,
not
I
even
am like,
close.
don't even
But
get, yeah,
even to the smaller things, like if your feet hurt because your shoe is tied too tight, then untie it. If you're getting dehydrated, you're gonna stop and get water. If you're tired, like take a nap. If you find yourself hungry, you're gonna eat. You're not gonna be like, oh no, I don't need a protein shake. No, you do need a protein shake. That's why your stomach's telling you you're hungry. Or and that's
yeah,
when people just don't listen to those signals and those stresses, and that's exactly what you need to do because they're telling you for a reason. And
mm,
again, it just becomes that much easier to keep following those where it's like, I want more lights. I want more indicator lights. I want more data to come in, not less, because
yeah,
I can, again, I know where I should be and where I shouldn't be. And I know, uh, I don't know, like energetically where I should be leaning towards. And it's almost like you're a tuning fork, and it's like you know exactly where in the path you need to go or where to change because you go where the vibration is strong. And if you
yeah,
start going this direction and the vibration, like you
it,
feel like you're getting further away from source or further away from yourself, then you instantly know it. And you don't just say, well, this job's worth it because it's really good money, or this relationship's good because she's really attractive, or you know what, like he's a really nice guy. He only hits me when he's drunk. So I can, that's okay. It's like, no, that's fucking not okay. Ever, ever. Like never okay. And
mm,
if your
yeah,
indicator light is saying like, hey, maybe you should do something, you don't just block it off with a shot of vodka or a pill or
right.
I don't know,
Whatever
just
you
run
need,
from
like
it.
you
Yeah,
said.
no, it's
Yeah,
you need to address that light, and not only address it, thank it. Be like, "Oh my god, thank you." Put a
thank
star
you.
around it and highlight it and be like, "Wow, you are my guardian angel light trigger thing." Like that's you embrace it. It's not,
Don't shame it. Don't
don't
shame the
shame
light.
it. No, it's
It's
like how
that's the
amazing. Like
worst.
you're gonna get pissed. So you take a road trip and then your tire pressure light comes on. It's not, oh what the hell, my tire light comes on. It's thank you so much. You're
Thank
preventing a
you.
blowout.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
that's
you know, and
that's
if you talked about some of the other little things too, and that applies where say you miss your exit, and this happens to me all the time.
oh yeah.
It's not get pissed because it added 3 minutes to your travel. The way I look at it is, well, maybe I avoided an accident, maybe I avoided a cop, maybe there would have been a squirrel if I turned that corner and I squished it somehow some way. It's not, Adam, you idiot, you're so stupid, or what the fuck universe. It's just, oh, that means I wasn't supposed to go that way, and maybe I'll see, who knows, maybe it's a car I like, maybe it's a cool bush, like again, who knows what it may be, but it's not get pissed because I missed the exit. It's just okay, travel on to the next exit.
Mm,
It's and that it's a really a metaphor for everything, and
yeah,
that doesn't mean be complacent. If anything, I'm more driven, more aligned, more passionate than I've ever been, but I'm
yeah,
not trying to push my plan or my whatever because that's failed every time I've tried to do it. Just be perfectly honest with you. Where it's as soon as I fall back and just let shit come into my lap, amazing things have unfolded, and it's again, it just leads. One path doesn't work, one path does. So stay on the one that does.
yeah. Well, Adam, seriously, I mean, this is, like you said, one path to get there. And if you are interested in this path of exploring DMT, I love how easily, I mean, it's not intimidating to pick up and read. Let me just read. I like to read some of the chapter titles for people who are interested here. I love the first chapter title, Who the Fuck Am I? Which is exactly why I started this podcast. I was like, who am
Yes,
I?
and
Um,
but if I may, I added that vulgarity because it can't just be a timid, oh, who the
who
fuck
am
am
I?
I? Or maybe I'll find out today. Who the fuck am I? It
It's
like it was my eyes were bulging. I had stomach full of snots. I was literally on the verge of breaking, and it was a pleaded and passionate, "Who the fuck am I?" it's not. So I really I thought
It's
about taking that word out, but it has to have
s-
an energy to it where it's not just a blasé question. It's a
yeah,
no. You need to ask this with like your life depends on it because it
yeah.
does.
And in your
So
life
sorry,
did. No,
and it did.
totally.
Yeah.
DMT, the miracle molecule. Let's take a trip. What a DMT session feels like, how to prepare for it. And you gave us a little glimpse today, but I think obviously in the book you can get a lot more of that. And like Adam said, I'm putting all your contact information, your Instagram, all the things for anybody that wants to reach out. Um, Transcendental sex, art, and science. DMT in the bedroom, art studio, and research lab.
Why
Very
not?
interesting. Um, I mean, I'll just leave that one there. Grandma's recipe, how to make your own DMT. DMT can help. Let's continue the dialogue. And then reminder, who the fuck are you? I like that. And then you talk about psychonauts logbook, advice, guidance, and lessons learned. And a very good one to end on, I think, public announcement. I think we need this one. Love thy neighbor.
Yeah, and thank you. If I think that's a perfect way to sum up
To,
this podcast on this day in this conversation,
oh,
where
yes.
really it's a twofold. If you're in a spot where you are full of light and love, things are going good, you're in a good spot, then please look out for the people around you that may not be, because it's amazing what just a hello, a how you doing, a hug, a heartfelt just conversation that make people feel like they're worthy, like they're a human. And the stats are pretty much proven that somebody in your inner circle is going through some suicidal or dark mental health things. So
Oh, yeah.
um, if you can be that shoulder to lean on, then by all means, please be that strength for somebody to lean on. And but also twofold, if you are in a dark space and you do need somebody um, to help you, please know. And you've said this multiple times too. Like, you're not alone. There is help. There's organizations that will be there to answer your phone call at any point. Me and my inner circle are available, and I mentioned that before recording. That's probably one of the most rewarding aspects of what I've been doing so far is
Oh,
the personal connections with people. Where again, I'm not some enlightened soul. I don't act like I have all the
no.
answers, but what I can 100% say is that I'll give anybody the space for them to feel valued, to feel like their words are worthy to be listened to. And I am very, very comfortable that I can give people multiple reasons to stay on this planet, just one more day, one more moment. And um, that I think is something that if somebody needs that, I make myself accessible for that every day, all day, because that's what drives me. Because then those people can then shine their light, and it just becomes this way of really, what is the next step of human evolution? Where do we take
Yeah.
our society? What's going to happen for your kids and your kids and your kids? Where it's we have to do something where it's not divisive speech, it's not hate, it's not us against them. It has to be us as a human community. And again, that may sound hippy dippy woo woo, but
I,
I've been on the other side and it sucks and everything is destroyed. And I've been on this side and there's a way forward where everybody has there's a space for everybody to have their own opinion and their own whatever. And yeah, if
mm,
you're comfortable in your own skin, you'll let other people be comfortable in their skin, and then you
oh,
can just live harmoniously instead of trying to combat with everybody.
mm. Doing that self work is doing your part in like healing all of the darkness. Like it doesn't sound hippy dippy to me because I've experienced it and it's crazy where you're
And
like,
that
oh my gosh, love really is like literally people don't
and
get it.
people like we've talked, there's like talks about like these big cycle, like Kali Yuga cycle changes and what's going to happen, and is this big cosmic shift.
Yeah.
And part of that, it's easy to kind of just brush off, but I use me as a personal example that if I can change 180 degrees and change perspectives on damn near everything in my life, from the dark to the light, from the limitation to the full
Yeah.
potential, like everything, that I'm a microcosm of that, where you can extend that to your family, to your circle of friends, to your street, to your neighborhood, to your community, to your state, to your country, to your whatever. And
Yeah.
is it's possible because I've seen it in my own self, and that drastic of a change can happen. And it's just a matter of having enough percentage of the people be an
Yeah.
example to say there's a better way than just following the herd, watching all the smut, being driven into craziness, and oh yeah, just drinking prescription pill it away and you'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a
Well,
lot. We could talk for probably
no,
more
I
hours.
mean,
I'm available. I'm
well,
accessible, and I do want to put this out too.
yeah,
I know we
please.
said it at the beginning that
Yeah.
anybody that does want a free PDF copy of the book, it's really easy for me to send an email
Yeah.
with that. So as much as I'm like to sell the book, it's really about the message and getting that out there. And it's really
Yeah.
easy for me to send that. So if anybody does want a copy, it's books by Adam Butler at Gmail,
Yeah.
and happy to
Well,
send it.
that's very nice of you, but I'm also gonna tell you, you can buy it as well if you'd like to buy it. And in the show notes, link to your Instagram, link to all your information. And I'm so glad that we were able to connect today because I think authentically talking about mental health and then seeing and hearing someone talk about how much they have changed gives somebody, because when I was in my darkest, I was listening to podcasts being like, and I'm like, oh, I'm not crazy, or maybe I am, but at least somebody's talking about it. I think it can shine a light to make someone take an action, or maybe someone that's hearing it is doing really well and they're like, you know what, I'm gonna like look people
Mm,
in the eye a little more and just like spread some of that if you
yeah,
can, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah, the message is there for everybody. And I like my mother's a perfect example too. Do I expect my mother to do shrooms or DMT, or does she need to? Absolutely not. But before me, with my experience with it, she may have been, if she's getting her hair cut, maybe she
yeah.
would frown upon it. Oh, I wouldn't,
Oh,
psychedelics are bad, or it's hardcore drugs, or there's a million ways to say it. Where now
sure.
she can say DMT saved my son's life, and let me tell you what, and now, so now she's read the literature. She's an advocate and a voice for what it can do.
Mm.
Not that she's doing it herself, but that's the
She's
type of
seen it.
ripple effect that can happen, where now it's not judging, it's not taboo, it's not, well, he must be a
Is it-
whatever, an addict or a druggie, or and not this, I'm not making, again, judgment calls. It's just
no.
there's no negative connotation to it if it's used in a therapeutic way with intentions, and everything was done in an up and up. And my mother, my father, my sister, my girlfriend, they're perfect advocates, because they can say, this is my son's a changed man, and it's because of
Amazing.
shrooms and DMT. And so those are the conversations that, even if it's not for you, and you would never do it, and maybe, and it's
It's
rightly so, maybe you don't want your family
yeah.
members to do it. It's just, for some people, it is it is an option that can really do benefit, and let people have the space, if it is
Yes.
right for them, to do it without judgment, would be my.
Respond with curiosity, at least that knee-jerk reaction of, "Oh." It's like,
Right,
well, just, it,
right.
different
And
strokes for
typically,
different
because
folks.
if people are coming to it later on in life, it's because everything else didn't work too. It's like,
Yeah.
I've tried
I've
it.
already
Most people have tried
tried.
everything else. It's like, yeah, well, you know what? At this point, like, because in my case, it was, well, I'm ready to jump off a cliff. So what the fuck? Like, everything else didn't work. The therapy didn't work. The whatever, the
It didn't
self
work.
medication didn't
Yeah.
work. The lying to myself didn't work. Maybe this would, and it did. So
I'm
I
so
thank you
glad
for
it
giving me the
did.
space to share
Oh
this.
oh my
I'm
gosh,
excited.
thank you for I can't wait for the and it's I gotta give a shout out to my producer who's gonna be editing this. He's like, Julian, he's probably laughing right now when he hears this. He was like, "Oh, I cannot wait for that episode with Adam on DMT." He's like, "That's gonna be badass." Because he and we're just he's been through some narcissistic stuff. We're both like in the seeking mode of like, what is life really about? Like, and so I was like, he's like, oh, so I
This will
think a
be a good
lot of
one.
people in my world who are doing some really serious soul searching are going to be interested in hearing this, because it's just like you said, it's an one avenue that changed your life. So
Well, I'm available. It doesn't have to be on camera and recorded. I'm
yeah,
available to have conversations, personally, privately,
yeah,
whatever. And if I can help in any way, certainly I'm here to share not only my
yeah,
experiences, but I over the course of a few years now, I've really collected a really cool group of inner circle friends, researchers, people that are sharing educational information and resources to, just
yeah.
I can connect the dots to in a lot of
See,
different ways, where, again, it's not
yeah.
just, oh, buy my book, do DMT, and you're good. It's not that story at all. It's a way bigger picture.
The whole thing. Yeah. Well, thank you for making episode 62
Cool.
so special. I can't thank you enough, Adam. And I feel like we're going to be connected. Well, I mean, I always tell my guests you're part of the Adventures in Adversity family.
There's actually,
But
when
yeah.
I'm going to send you an email when we get off. There's a company and a woman that I think you may be interested in potentially
Okay.
connecting with. I'm visiting her and her husband in December to spend a week out in Utah.
Okay.
And they offer ceremony, medication, and attention, and
Ooh.
it really sounds like it's, and I've been contacted by a bunch of people and
Yeah.
organizations. Some of them are just give me your money and sign up for some shit. And it's like, I don't want anything to do with that. These
Yeah.
people really seem to be legit. She's a mom.
Amazing.
She's a grandmom. She helps veterans. She's been through, very successful in her business life, and now she's really dedicated to helping people. And so it's
Mm,
places like that that if people like you or other people are looking
yeah,
for a safe place to explore it, you don't. There are options where you don't have to go to the street or
support.
try to befriend somebody like me to have a session in
Yeah,
your house or something. There are
yeah.
safe places
There's
to do it with
centers. Yeah.
professionals.
Amazing.
It'll find you. And I always
Yeah.
tell people this:
It
if
finds you.
if DMT is supposed to be in your life, it will find you and it'll make itself accessible. And really, you don't have to look for it. It
It
will come to you in multiple ways. And if I'm just the first one of
No,
many,
you're the
then
second.
so it'll come
15
three
year
or four more times. So
20 years ago, my roommate mentioned it, and then it's back, and I'm like, "Okay, you got
oh,
my
you're gonna
attention now."
well, so yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So,
I'll send you that information. And again, anybody else that wants to reach out to me, I'm here for. So thank you. And you don't have
amazing.
to worry about sending this to me to edit anything out.
You're
I'm comfortable.
you're
We're
good.
good.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. I'll send it right to Julian. He's
Yeah.
anxiously awaiting it.
Cool.
Thank you, Adam. And again, really appreciate it. I know we have listeners all over the world. I am so grateful to say that. And I think it's so freaking cool that someone is going to hear this and something in their soul might be stirred to maybe like love themselves just a little bit more. Who knows, you know?
I think so.
So
Well, thank you.
all right. Well, happy Friday and happy World Mental Health Day. Keep
Mm.
keeping it real. And I'll talk to you soon. Thank you again.